Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Letter Writing Day, Tony. Do you still write letters?
Dear Michael, I could have simply said, yes, I do still write letters. But that seemed impersonal. Instead, I thought I'd actually put pen to paper. Yes, I do still write letters. Fondly, Anthony Irwin Kornheiser.
Carol, do we still have stamps? Do you know how obnoxious that was? I mean, do you have any idea how pretentious and obnoxious that was? Do you have any? No?
I thought it was good. It was good. I had a pen in my hand. I had paper in my hand.
Yeah.
I felt good about myself. I felt like I was somehow being true to what I used to do
People
for
over
40
80
years
know
and
what you
haven't
were
done it in a
doing.
while.
Yeah.
I don't know. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Oregon needs a coach. Steph Curry needs 16 three-pointers, and the Lakers need to get it together. But we begin today with the New England Patriots sending pro football back to the 1920s last night. Respecting wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour in Buffalo, the Patriots ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball. They ran it 46 times and threw it 3 times, just once in the first half. The Patriots ran the ball over, around, and through Buffalo for 222 yards and a 14-10 win. Wilbon, do you come to praise the Patriots or slam the Bills for not being able to stop it?
Well, Tony, I'm not going to slam the Bills for not being able to stop it. I'm going to slam the Bills in a minute for just being whiny. Just whiny. They used to be an appealing team, and now I want to say to the Buffalo Bills, get out. But let me go first to the New England Patriots, who I come to praise, and everybody should come to praise them, and specifically Bill Belichick, the coach. People can think whatever they want about Belichick. They can dislike him. They can say his team is cheated over time. You can say whatever you want. He is smarter and better as a head coach than all the other coaches, just about all the other, maybe all the other, right? Especially in this crop of head coaches that we have in the NFL these days, Tony. He figures out the way that he is going to employ his forces, his boys, to beat your boys, and he does it. And he did it, and it was brilliant. It was great. There was a certain appeal to that game if you like snow and wind and all that stuff. And then the Buffalo Bills, they get mad at people for asking questions at the media, and the head coach is snippy. Shut up. You got your fat butts kicked, and you want to quibble with the questions, huh? They ran it down your throat. Take it. Yeah. Be a man about it. Be accountable for it. It's just, I'm sick of the Buffalo Bills. But yes, praising of the New England Patriots.
I'm not going to slam the Buffalo Bills. They held New England to 14 points. They tried hard, they lost. They didn't gag. They didn't get.
But then don't whine.
They got
don't
beat
whine
in
later.
the game of football.
Yeah.
They got beat in
That's
the game
right.
of football.
They did.
They got beat. Okay. We'll talk about that in the moments to come. But I want to go to Sean McDermott first, because this is what he said after the game. He said, let's not give more credit than we need to give credit to Bill Belichick in this one.
Please.
Whether it's Bill or anyone else, they beat us, right? With all due respect, it's not a Bill Belichick type thing. Mike, I don't know why he would say that. They play each other in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They play each other in Foxborough.
Yeah.
Does this guy think Bill Belichick will not remember what he just said? Does he think Bill Belichick will not try to rub his nose in it? This is Bill Belichick of 6 Super Bowls versus Sean McDermott of less than 6.
Yeah.
6 less than 6.
Yeah.
You are 100% right about what we saw. When you couple what Nick Saban did on Saturday to Georgia with what Bill Belichick did last night to Buffalo. You are watching master classes of great coaching. Master classes. The next time they play, Belichick is likely to throw it 46 times and run it 3, because he'll make that determination based on what his team does best under those conditions. The Buffalo team was outplayed, was outsmarted, and was outcoached. And if you tell me today that New England is going to the Super Bowl, I'll go, I'm not certain of that. But what I am certain of is that right now, they're better than Buffalo.
Yeah.
They're better than Buffalo.
They are better than Buffalo, Tony. And the tone is set by the guy at the top. And if he's whiny, his players are likely to be whiny. I mean, their performance after the game was as bad and as weak-hearted as their performance during the game. Somebody ran it down their throats, and they have the nerve to complain. Are you kidding me?
No, they
Get them off the
they
stage.
Got beat.
Get Buffalo,
the Buffalo
off the stage.
Defense,
please.
The Buffalo defense knew what was coming, and they could not stop it.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots imposed their will last night, and that was something to see. That was something to see.
And these guys don't have the class to say we got beat. They want to whine. They want to question the questions. Mario Cristobal was introduced as the new head coach at the U today. Now Oregon needs to find his successor. And there is some speculation that Chip Kelly could be a candidate. Kelly went 46-7 for the Ducks between 2009, 2012, and 8-4 this season while heading UCLA. Tone, does an Oregon reunion with Chip Kelly make sense to you?
I would say it absolutely makes sense. I'm not saying it guarantees, great strides in victories. North Carolina's doing it now with Mac Brown. It's doing pretty well. It's not doing great. Washington did it with Joe Gibbs. Did pretty well, didn't do great, was not on a championship level.
Right.
But as you say, this guy was 46-7 there. Not that long ago. 46-7. Now you can say that Chip Kelly didn't do well anywhere else. He didn't do badly in Philadelphia. He was 26-21. That's okay.
Yep.
He went to San Francisco 2-14 and fired. He's at UCLA, and even with the 8-4 this year, he's 18-25 overall. But he got it done in Oregon, and that's where the opening is. The opening is in Oregon. I'm one of those guys, I know you don't believe this, I'm one of those guys who believes that Lincoln Riley will instantly energize USC, and that could get UCLA caught in the wash on that. So I think Kelly ought to consider this because this is a good exit strategy for him.
Yeah, I'm not big on guys looking for exit strategies. If you're looking for an exit strategy in the same conference, I don't much want you. Chip Kelly was undeniably a force at Oregon, Tony. But, things move on. Other schools in your same circumstance, as we see in the Pac-12, they try. Maybe they will make upgrades. And Chip Kelly, I don't know if this is going to work when you talk about going home. John Robinson did this, right, in Southern California to some extent. It wasn't great the second time around like it had been initially. You mentioned Joe Gibbs, who, of course, you and I are going to think of that first and foremost because we covered both parts of it. And the first part was spectacular. 4 Super Bowls, 3 of them won, and then they brought him back to reprise it. And it wasn't the same, even though he got to the playoffs a couple times. Tony, I wouldn't begrudge him for going back. Do I think it's going to work like it did the first time around, where everybody went crazy and declared Chip Kelly was the next, visionary? No, I don't particularly see that. But and by the way, what's Oregon's mission? Is it to be really good and competitive, or is it to win a national championship? And if they don't, they're going to fire them because most colleges these days at the top of the pyramid are just egomaniacal.
I want to go to the other end of this.
What?
I understand why Cristobal is going to the U. That's his alma mater. I get it.
Sure.
But if it wasn't his alma mater, he's leaving a school that can compete for the national championship. They were ranked as high as 3 this year. Had they beaten Utah in those games, they'd be in the playoffs. The University of Miami right now is a memory. It's something nostalgic. They've churned through their last 3 coaches. In fact, all the Florida schools right now, the great powers, Miami, Florida State, and Florida, they're turning over coaches every 2 years. I'm not sure that I would do this. If it was not my alma mater, I would not.
I bet if you asked Bill Belichick, this 46 rush, 3-pass game, was it his favorite game ever, he'd say yes. But if you ask Sean McDermott...
Let's not give more credit than we need to give credit to Bill Belichick.
Yo! Let's go around the horn.
Hey. I feel like Bill's going to have some fun with that one down the road. Playing over and over again.
Let's not give more credit than we need to give credit to Bill Belichick in this one. Whether it's Bill or anybody else, they beat us, right? But you sit here and you tell me when we start with the average starting field position at the 40-yard line and he starts with the 23-yard line, and we were 1 for 4 in the red zone and they were 0 for 1 in the red zone, You give me that ahead of time, so I like my chances. But with all due respect, it's not a Bill Belichick type thing. It's what are you doing with the opportunities you got? We turn the ball over at the plus 30-some yard line. Sloppy football.
Sean McDermott was trying to explain how fluky last night was, both in gameplay and in acts of God, right? The wins. But Harry Lyles, does that reaction land, or does it make you think more of Belichick and how the Patriots won?
This says everything about Bill Belichick, from the way that he coached that game to the reaction that he elicited from Sean McDermott. I mean, look, if you're Sean McDermott, I love Sean McDermott. What he's done in Buffalo has been nothing short of incredible, turning that franchise around. But hey, man, you got to leave that one in the group chat. You got to leave that one with your family, something. Because even though you might feel that way, and it's okay for you to feel that way, you can't take away from the greatest coach in football. This win is an incredible summary of Bill Belichick's tenure in New England. You've got a rookie quarterback. He only throws the ball 3 times. That's not an indictment on Mac Jones. That is Bill Belichick doing what he needs to do to win games. And it looks a variety of ways in his tenure in New England. This team just so happens to look like a lot like the 2001 Patriots, who played a lot of great defense, had a rookie quarterback by the name of Tom Brady, who didn't have to do everything but did later on in his career. So to me, yes, give Bill Belichick all the credit.
June Lee, did Sean McDermott make his point there, or did he make Belichick's point for him?
Yeah, I think Harry's spot on. I mean, Sean McDermott in that clip comes across as a bitter, scorned lover. Like, there's a lot of just bitterness in that clip because he got outsmarted on a lot of instances last night. The Patriots won last night's game because they paid attention to a lot of the small details. They basically threw out their game plan when they saw the win and the fact that people were rolling over and people were looking at, like you know, those used car tube things that like flip-flop in the air. You know, it was a game plan where they saw what was happening. They saw what was right in front of them, and they needed to make an audible right at the game plan because they needed to know that they need to run the ball because they weren't going to be able to throw going into the win last night.
George Sedano, when you hear Sean McDermott come out and say this wasn't about Belichick, you say?
I say that he's going to have to live that one down for a long time, probably. Although he's right, Tony, because here's the reality of it. This is the message he's trying to send, is that his players didn't execute the way they were supposed to. And if you're going to beat a Bill Belichick team, this Patriots team, you've got to execute for 4 quarters. I spent time this morning talking to a guy who played in the AFC East for a long time, and he said, as cliche as it sounds, that's the way this has to go. You have to have every detail down to a point, like June mentioned, for 4 quarters, and it's an ultimate chess match with him. Even if you think he's at a disadvantage, he's going to find a way to exacerbate your weakness, and that's what Belichick was able to do yesterday. Although, by the way, I do think it's pretty hilarious that Belichick got wind of this particular comment very quickly, because in his performance, his appearance, on WEEI this morning, he was asked how he felt, and he said, quote, "a little rundown."
Okay. Sarah Spade, I'll bring you in here. Any part of last night, do you say, well, this was fluky, and McDermott's making some good points. They had all the chances to win. This wasn't about Belichick. Any part of you?
Well, I do find it interesting that before the game started, we all kind of said, throw everything out. This is going to be a wild one. You're not going to be able to tell what we get from both of these teams because of the acts of God and otherwise. Okay. One of my favorite tweets of all time, Warren Sapp saying something was an act of God, ACTIVE. I'm not sure if you knew what he was doing there. But honestly, when you look at it, Sean McDermott was adamant that this was not Bill Belichick winning this game, and he was right because it was him and the Bills losing it. The Pats went 3 and out 4 times. They only had 3 drives that were longer than 25 yards. They went 2 for 12 on 3rd down. This wasn't Bill Belichick masterminding a perfect game that was perfectly executed. It was just that they did it better than McDermott and the Bills, and I do think it's funny that everyone, because of this comment from McDermott, is making this out to be a mastermind performance from Belichick, when in fact it was a really good job of making good use of what he had when he walked into that game with a team that was much better prepared to succeed in those conditions.
So there you go. You agree with McDermott. This wasn't mastermind Belichick. Lyles back in after the horde.
Guys, best thing about this entire game, though, was pregame when Bill Belichick wore his Navy midshipman mask. He told us what he was going to do before the game and then ran the ball almost 50 times.
I bet you he regrets even throwing those 3 times. I bet you it was killing him today. He could have pitched a perfect game. I mean, this game hadn't happened in the NFL in 47 years. Look at that! Look at the spray chart there for Mac Jones. You'll never see anything like that again. The momentum to call the Patriots a rise in the AFC has been around the last couple of weeks. June, you were there 3 weeks ago when you had your power rankings and the Patriots near the top. So now everybody's jumping on the most likely Super Bowl matchup right now, according to FBI, by the way. FBI. Buccaneers, Patriots. So hold on to your butts. June, go ahead. I already see the smile forming. Make the case for Patriots as favorites to win the AFC now.
I mean, what they've been doing this season is what Bill Belichick has done throughout the course of his entire tenure with the Patriots, which has been taking what he has, a bunch of players who can do a bunch of different things, and they change the game plan every single week so that he becomes impossible to scout the Patriots. They change the game plan. This is a team that looked different when they played the Titans. This is a team that looked different when they played the Chargers. You don't know what you're getting on a week-to-week basis. And then they also don't force Mac Jones to do things that he can't do. A lot of rookie quarterbacks right now are trying to do too much. They're trying to do the hero ball. With Mac Jones, they let him throw, they let him make accurate passes, then they balance it out with Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris with a strong running game, so the receivers are more open in the end zone. And then on top of all of that, you have a defense that's adjusted from week to week, switching from zone to man, and they're the number one defense in the NFL and continue to get better on a week-to-week basis right now.
All right, so AFC favorite, June Lee says. He also said they let Mac Jones throw. Singular. Because it was almost that yesterday. One throw for the first half. George Sedano, are the Patriots the AFC favorites?
Tony, no, they're not, but they're near the top. They're tied for third right now overall at plus 750 with the Green Bay Packers. The only team in the AFC that's ahead of them, according to Vegas odds right now, are the Kansas City Chiefs. And I still think the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat, especially the way they've been playing lately. You've been seeing that defense coming for a long time now. And you heard Patrick Mahomes mention it the other day. If we can get our offense back to where we expect it to be, then we feel really good about where we are moving forward. And this game, look, it's clearly won in the margins, okay? The Patriots have done a fantastic job on defense. In their last 5 games, they've only allowed 3 points, which, by the way, was that field goal last night. They are certainly deserving of being part of this conversation, but no bigger margin than having Patrick Mahomes on your side, which is why I go with the Chiefs.
Sarah Spain.
I'm glad they're in the conversation.
Yeah, that was about. Thank you, Sarah. We're in the conversation, George. You don't have to tell us we're in the conversation. This is the conversation.
By the way,
welcome. Go ahead, Sarah.
By the way, that Pats Bucs is only 10% likelihood, which shows you still how even the most likely matchup is still showing us the parity that exists across the top. I agree with George, though, that the Chiefs and the Pats are neck and neck. I would anticipate we're going to see some passing touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes in the coming weeks, an offense that looks a little stronger, so they aren't depending on a defense that earlier in the season was among the worst in the league. So the fact that they are winning by that defense, while the offense still has so much room to catch up, leads me to think that they're a little bit ahead, just ahead.
And Harry lies.
I think that the Patriots should be up there. I'm still going with the Chiefs. The Chiefs and the Patriots both have the 2 best scoring defenses since week 6. If you're asking me that's going to stick around or at least stay close to it, I'm going to bank on that Kansas City offense figuring it out and getting it together.
Since the Bills beat Kansas City and exercised that demon in week 5, this team's 3-4. That last play last night, Allen trying to go to Diggs when the all-out blitz left Beasley in the middle of the field seemingly open. The loss has them the last team in the playoffs right now. This is after the breakthrough they had in the AFC title game last year. Sarah, when you think about why the Bills are trending backwards, what's the major malfunction?
It's the same as it's been all season long, a lack of balance. They just can't get the run game going. You could look at Josh Allen's interceptions of late as part of the problem, but I think those come from a reliance on his arm and a lack of balance from the offense. They know what's coming and they can't get the run going. It's balance, and it's been balanced since the start of the season, even when they had some success against teams that they're now
losing head-to-head to New England is huge, Sarah, but are you kind of throwing it out because of the active God, as you said, in this game? They don't have a running game. Their home field advantage was a disadvantage for them yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. You could say that Bill Belichick's game plan, especially putting 6 offensive linemen on for 60+% of their plays, all of that stuff was very smart. They also came in with a great defense and a great running game, which is exactly what you need in a weird game like that. Not a guy with a rocket arm that still can't complete passes if the wind is taking them, 5 feet off their target.
Tony, it is the lack of the running game. If you look, their 2 backs have less than 1,000 yards combined, 400 plus for Josh Allen. And here's the thing. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are actually really good when they run the ball. If you look at Pro Football Focus, they're ranked 15th and 21st overall as far as running backs when they actually run the ball. The problem is they're not very good at pass blocking. They're one of the worst pair of pass blocking backs in the league, and the Bills are passing too much, which puts them at a disadvantage at times.
Harry?
I think, look, Buffalo doesn't have the enforcers that they had last year. They're bad on both lines. But the other thing that Sean McDermott has said multiple times this season is the toughest thing is to maintain that success. And they're struggling with that right now. And he realizes that.
June Lee.
Yeah, I think Sarah's spot on, just the lack of balance that Buffalo brings on a game-to-game basis. And I think that this is the difference between the Patriots and the Bills, where the Patriots have that consistency on a year-to-year basis, on that week-to-week basis. They're able to bring a lot of different looks. And on top of all of that, this is the most Buffalo Bills thing ever. They have that opening for 1 year to make the AFC Championship and be the kind of the team of the AFC East, and they blow to the Patriots.
It's not over yet, June Lee. I know you think the Patriots are the